everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today for my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. Thank you so much. This is February the 17th, 2020, for my episode 81, where the show title today would be, What Does It Mean When Good Training is Lacking Accountability? I love to talk about training. I need to do more. I need to do a series of training, podcast series about that. Let's go ahead and get started. So I like to start off my podcast as I usually do. In this day, I am thankful to the prime creator of all things, that I give thanks for this blessing and opportunity, that I will use it for the greater good. So welcome, my survivors of the journey, to my podcast that aims to inspire and motivate you, that you will continue to have joyfulness in your heart, peace of mind, and for your sustained success. So we're going to get into this in this particular podcast, where we want to learn the constant behaviors that management uses to basically quickly turn a profit, with the lacking of an effective, knowledgeable, proficient employee staff that impacts the customers. We have seen this a lot, so we're going to talk about that. Why, when, what, and what are some strategies to get out of that mindset, to be a forerunner of what I like to call prestige leadership. So let's talk about my important part segment, which training is it's like water that bridges the life into a company to effectively serve their customers. Now, training is not a fast track, fast food drive-through, you hear me? With limited or overly saturated options. Training should be like a nice, tall glass of water that plenishes the need of what our body needs or what we're trying to accomplish. And it soothes the areas, both internally and externally, in a way that we are proficient and can stand on our own. That's deep, and I need you to replay that, because I just came through for me to say that expression of what training really is when we look at training in a company environment or any type of project or group or organization. So my wisdom point on this segment here, my wisdom point is that only management can be the captain of the ship of training, to either smooth out the waters there or rough waters to a poorly designed training program. Now, why is this so? Okay, let's just cut to the chase. It's money, profitability, a fast way to generate the cash, okay, with no solid foundation of a protocol in motion to move forward by using and partnering with HR to assist in securing those complete process. It's not in the sense of partnering with HR to assist in securing those training programs that work in the best position to help employees, as well as to reinforce retention. So who are we talking about? Well, of course we're talking about management. Okay, let's get to the nitty gritty, that because they want to make the choices. So management leadership, they got to focus on so many different things, but it seems like they mainly just focus on the profitability. It's like that they just sit there and they think, okay, how can we be more profitable? How can we gain more? How can we expand these or look at these margins and get into where we need to be? And way less or not at all, in most cases, how important training is in relevance to their certain goals in relation to profitability. Management of some companies would spend thousands of dollars on equipment, shipping, brand packaging, a whole bunch on advertisement to generate customers to purchase the product, but would throw together a training program in less than 5 minutes, if that, okay, of the material that's needed. Some job positions or projects require a year to grasp it, or they have senior people that already knows it there to help those that are learning. So you have a complete solid infrastructure of support. But some companies don't, they just call it a day. So that's considered to be poor management decisions and not the prestige leadership that I talk about in my podcast. Prestige leadership is key. So, and they don't use HR as a retention practice protocol as well as entwined to training. Okay, so and I'm actually talking about where training requires planning, which of course management should know that. But I mean real planning. It requires capable people that have strong interpersonal skills. We ain't talking about bullies that are teaching this training. We're not talking about impatient people. No people that can't teach things in a straightforward, communicating way that is productive. That's why HR needs to be a part of the training program completely. They're intertwined. If an employee or a new hire feels that they're not getting what they need or this and that, they need to be talking to somebody representing HR so they can be able to step in and handle that, because they are the ones that's going to be on the front line or whatever line making those wheels of the company to move forward because they know they have been trained and they're empowered to get it done. So HR needs to be a part of the training, not just the hiring to get employees in, because if the employees is already there or the new hire is already there in training and it's not what it should not what it should be, they will quit. So then HR is constantly going through that. And I have to speak to HR, okay, for them right now. It's a lot of work to recruit, to go through the process, to go through selection, to go through all of that presentation, only to do it again because the 10 or the 20 or the 30 or the 100 that you got in, 50% of that or 40% of that, they either quit or for some reason they feel like, well, maybe that's not the right fit. That's what the trainer's saying, but really it's the trainer. And then the HR person got to go back and do that all over again. To me, that's a waste of time, waste of energy. And it does break down the mental piece of a human resources personnel. I don't care how long they've been in the business. I know, don't want to admit it, but it does take a toll because you're constantly repeating the things that if it was done, once they hand it over to the training team, it should be sufficient that it goes to the next step. So you're building the blocks up, not you're building the blocks up for one level and then the blocks come back tumbling down because people quit or people leave, people just get frustrated, right? So you have to be able to intertwine HR through the whole process and have an open door policy and be able to listen to, because these are the people that's coming in viewing your training program, not the other way around, that the trainers that are training it, that they hold more stock. Of course, everything should be in balance, but definitely the people that are new that's coming in looking at this can tell you the feedback with this work and that work, or that doesn't work, or this trainer worked but not that. You know what I'm saying? Of course you have to still investigate. Those are your number one front line of people to determine if the training program is what it needs to be. Okay, because not having a good, sufficient old machine of a training program is crazy. And not having the right trainers. Sometimes people change. Sometimes people voices change. People attitude change. So you constantly have to do a measure that everybody is where it needs to be. It's just like a car. Eventually you have to get maintenance on it because it changes as you continue to use it over time, right? So real estate, the area that you live in, the value of it changes when different things come into the mix, or over time different things are required in the neighborhood to uplift and sustain that value. So you have to make adjustments along the way, and that's all that I'm saying with training. Management has to look at training as an investment for the long haul, and an investment that if materials needs to be written, or you know what, you can do a focus group on the training. Okay, you got to come up with ideas that you can measure it, you can analyze it, and you can see the results. Because if you move people that are not trained on the floor, it creates high stress for the employees, which in turn would be high turnover. People quit. And now, if you look at 2020, people just like, they're not into it no more of staying with the company that long. They have to be so stressed to get a paycheck. They'll quit and become an entrepreneur in a heartbeat. Okay, so you got to present them the whole package. It's not just the benefits, and the pay, and you get time off. The training is water, because that's something that sustains life. That's something that sustains employees to know that they can do their job. I'm not talking about lazy people that don't want to do nothing. I'm talking about people that actually want to work, but they want to know their job. How would you feel that you don't know your job all the way? How do you feel you always got to ask somebody else that might know it or don't know it? How do you have to second guess when you're talking to a customer that you should know, but it wasn't really covered? So you're second guessing, you're doing this, you're doing that, and it's just not right. So you have to give people the time to absorb. And another thing I want to say for managers and leadership, stop acting like that we're in 2020 and cars are flying and we can think into existence and it happened. What I'm trying to say is humans are not robots. You cannot allow or think that a human can consume thousands of information, a whole bunch of information in their mind, process that at a record pace to the customer. You can't do it, okay? You can't do it. So you have to be able to look at things where you are acknowledging that training takes time, it takes investment, it takes reinvestment, It takes patience. It takes having the right team and monitoring that team. That's why HR is there. It's monitoring the human resources accordingly. And to get a separate team in the HR, well, most companies already have that. It depends on how large the company is, but they're still connected. And it's an open door policy that new hires, employees, or what have you can go and express their experiences. Because if you take that investment, take that time, that goes along with the equipment. You can't have a dinosaur type equipment and expect superior, up-to-date, current year type of technology to do the work. So both of those come in line too. But the training is the seed, it's the water, it's the thing that sets it off. That when they get on the floor, a customer can call and it's not a long delay. They're not being passed from one person to the next. So here's your strategy to succeed. You have to design a training program. Management should be bold, and they need to do the task of doing the processes from beginning to end. So when management actually get their foot in it, that is boot camp, that's training. And they need to understand it from other person's eyes and their perspective. When you do that and work with the systems that you said are the greatest, or you believe that it is, but actually it's a dinosaur machine with a lot of baggage on its back, you will be able to design a sufficient training program that sets the goal to what you seek and to satisfy, to give the nourishing to your employee staff what they need in a training program. So your task to dusk to dawn is rebuke and denial. Training is all that, nothing to see here, and stop looking at how much money you can make and aiding this, and all this is just cheating the people what they deserve, which is good training, produce good employees and productive wise, and customers feel that what they're paying for is value. And you have to look at it at, haven't you experienced calling a company and their service is whack, and you calling, you left on hold or passed to this person and that person and this and that, and then you never coming out the way it should? Then you have to say, well, I don't want that for my company. I want to be able, it's a one-stop shop, or it's a one solution call. And if it's not, it's going to be proficient that the customer can see we on top of this. We know our product, we know our service, and it comes from the training. You cannot cheat training and expect your brand to continue to have the glowing of the prestige long term, okay? And especially with social media and so forth. So you don't want to do that. You want to stop that. You want to invest in training on an ongoing measure for real results. You want to monitor them with HR, sidestep with you and get the feedback. You remove those trainers that are bullies and don't have strong interpersonal skills. You got to check them. You got to continue to check them that they're on par. Okay? So your motivational takeaway is that real leadership take ownership of their company ability to facilitate effective training that produces profound employees, that reinforces the brand message. So the question is, are you up to the task? Let me go ahead and start with my motivational takeaway for you, is that real leadership take ownership of their company ability to facilitate effective training that produces profound employees, that reinforces the brand message. The question is, are you up to the task of prestige leadership based on your training program? That's what you got to take away. And if you're saying that you are, or you're willing to be, then go ahead and get it done. Because you can do it, and you can achieve the other elements of success in your company, in your organization, to be able to get the results that you seek. It is possible by not depleting one area that is needed, that is vital to the sustainability of your company, brand message, and ability to serve the customers that you seek. Okay, thank you for joining me for my podcast episode from my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey to Success, just to give you some information to not only stay in contact, but with the other things that I offer. I provide career consultation, offering the first 30 minutes are free. Thereafter, there is a fee access afterwards per hour and can be discussed on a case-by-case basis, depending on your need. So if it is an emergency and you need some consultation regarding your career or choices that you're about to make moving forward, in a sense, in your personal type objectives, then you can definitely contact me. The primary way to contact me is by email, which is info@nichelanderson.com. Now, I do have a toll-free number on my website. Now, that is actually only for webinars, when I'm doing like a free webinar and you're calling in. Once that number is through that medium, and it's only really for that, so it's not really connected to me directly. Now, I am working on that, but for right now it's not really, and when that changes, you would definitely get a notice of that to go forward. So Just to recap, my primary way is info@nichelanderson.com. All right, so the other thing I want to share with you is that I also provide business courses and self-improvement courses. So that overall objective is to help you to create strategies that work for you, to get you motivated, to identify the ways to get your or keep your joy and your mental peace. So I do provide that on the basis of your objective to gain success, and as I like to say, sustain success. You can find information on my courses that I release on my official website, which is www.nichelanderson.com, and you can go there and you can look at the different courses that I am releasing that are available. These courses are self-paced. They will be identified if they're considered to be like live sessions on a regular basis, but for the most part they are self-paced. During that time I do have live sessions that once you have signed up for the course, you will see that in the schedule of what days that I'm available live, that you can talk to me and we can go over the courses going forward, right, on those particular topics. So that information is basically on my website that you can go to, which is nichelanderson.com. Now, I want to do a special call out for listeners that I have seen in my stats that are following me, continue to follow me, which I am thankful for. Now, to get connected more, to stay connected, I'm asking you to consider to join my newsletter that I do send out. And to do that, you just have to submit, of course, your name and your email. I don't spam. You could always request to be taken off the list. I don't send thousands of emails because I don't like thousands of emails from a particular source. So I keep it in a way that's informative, of course, because obviously you like the content because you hear and you enjoy it and you're getting something from it, which pleases me. To expand that and to move forward and to get into other ways that I can expand what I'm trying to do is to form a newsletter, to get that set up in the sense that I'm communicating that I can send that out more quickly, actually, through a podcast or any type of thing or production that I'm doing, where a newsletter is more, in the sense, faster to get that contact and to send it out on blast, right? And more opportunity to send more content compared to like social media characters to be able to get that message out. So do consider that to join my newsletter by providing, and you can find that link at the end of each episode. I have that link to basically to sign up here for Nichel E-List Tips newsletter. And you could do that and you can see that and click it. It's a short form, online form. It is secured and you can complete that. All right. The other thing I want to talk about is basically to subscribe to this podcast. If you haven't, please go ahead. Of course, this is going through Podbeam. I have 2 podcasts. This one, of course, you're listening to is Surviving Your Journey to Success. And you can subscribe. Of course, you should see the subscribe button here at the bottom of this episode or at the top, whichever device that you're using. Now, I'm also available on iHeartRadio, on Spotify, on Google Play, on iTunes, and any other podcast directories for feed distribution. You can connect that way and subscribe. And if you like it, share it. Now, I am on social media. And so you do hear me a lot talk about Twitter. I'm mostly active on Twitter. I'm also active on Facebook. For the most part right now is Twitter. And I like the whole concept of keeping it short and sweet. In my closing, I want to say thank you again for joining me today. Here is my closing statement for you. Be you that strengthens and inspires your ability to be strong in your journey endeavor. It's a good thing towards your mental peace and joy. Always to your success.